Hi, I'm Cral Azuz for CNN 10. I have a head cold this week, so please bear with me as we objectively explain each day's news. We're starting with a recap of a weekend event that brought out hundreds of thousands of demonstrators in cities across the U.S. and beyond. It was called the March for Our Lives. It included students, parents, teachers, survivors of school shootings, and celebrities. And its main goal was to push for new restrictions on guns in America, while also honoring the students and school staff who were killed last month at a shooting in Parkland, Florida.
Politicians, either represent the people or get out. The people demand a law banning the sale of assault weapons. The people demand we prohibit the sale of high-capacity magazines. The people demand universal background checks. Stand for us or beware, the voters are coming.
Those were some of the demands of the marchers, and while many echoed the call for new laws concerning gun control in the U.S., others pushed for gun ownership to be outlawed altogether. There were also demonstrators who drew attention specifically to African Americans who'd been killed in shootings. The White House issued a statement saying the government applauded the many courageous young Americans exercising their First Amendment rights, and that keeping children safe is a top priority of the president. Florida Senator Marco Rubio also issued a statement supporting the marchers' First Amendment rights, but he added that there are a number of Americans concerned about, quote, an infringement on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens, that while they too want to prevent mass shootings, they don't support a ban on guns. That was the message of several groups of counter-protesters who also gathered on Saturday in support of gun rights, and there were some angry arguments between the two sides. 10-second trivia. What did AT&T originally stand for? Atlantic Transportation and Transshipping, Associated Tracking and Transfer, Allied Telecom and Telegraph, or American Telephone and Telegraph? The American Telephone and Telegraph Corporation dates back to the late 1800s. A trial is going on right now that's closely being watched by companies and legal experts around America. AT&T is trying to buy Time Warner, the parent company of CNN, for more than $85 million. Today, AT&T is a large wireless company and satellite TV distributor, but what it does not have is content, programming, and entertainment. And that's why it wants Time Warner, which includes CNN, HBO, Warner Brothers, TNT, and TBS. The merger would be one of the biggest media deals in history, but the U.S. government is trying to block it. And one big question is, will the merger break U.S. antitrust laws, which are designed to keep American companies from having too much control over the market?
The antitrust case of the decade is here. It's a case that will be taught in law schools for years to come. Back in 2016, when AT&T announced plans to buy Time Warner, which yes, owns CNN, most media analysts assumed that the deal would be approved. After all, it's a vertical merger. That means it's two companies that don't directly compete with one another. Think of it like a shoe company buying the leather manufacturer. So a year later, when the Justice Department sued to block the $85 billion bid, it was a big deal.
Breaking news here, the Justice Department is set to file a lawsuit to block AT&T's takeover of Time Warner.
At first, AT&T claimed selective enforcement, basically saying that it was personal between the president and CNN. But now it's unlikely we'll even hear the words Donald Trump during this trial. A judge blocked AT&T's request to use messages between the administration and regulators about the merger, so the company will not be using the political bias argument in court. Instead, we're in for a battle fought on more traditional antitrust grounds. The Justice Department says the combination of AT&T and Time Warner will lead to higher prices for consumers. And it argues AT&T could hog its own content, must-haves like sports and news, by not making it available to outside distribution. AT&T argues that it needs this merger to better compete with upstarts like Facebook, Amazon, and Netflix. It says there's no evidence prices will go up, and that they won't withhold content from anybody, because then they'd make less money. It's not just AT&T and Time Warner who care about the outcome of this case. Other media companies considering mergers, like Disney and 21st Century Fox, are watching carefully. If the Justice Department succeeds in blocking the merger, some see signals of a new era of government scrutiny. That might stop some future deals from going forward. That's why this case could change the course of media industry history.
Noah Corey is the name of a high school athlete who's overcome childhood cancer. According to the Poughkeepsie Journal, he was given only a 5% chance of surviving when he was diagnosed at 18 months of age. But he's been in remission since he was about 4 years old, and he now raises thousands of dollars to support other families in their fight against the disease. He's an example of a positive athlete, our new series on CNN 10. And if you'd like to nominate an athlete like Noah, head to cnn.com/positiveathlete.
When Noah was 18 months old, we noticed that he had, an extended stomach and he was having trouble walking. So we took him to our pediatrician, and within an hour there was an ambulance at the doctor's office sending us to Albany Medical Center, where right away they determined that he did have stage 4 neuroblastoma.
My mom said one of the doctors up there didn't really expect me to last long.
He went through major surgeries to do tumor removal. He also had a bone marrow transplant. Given the prognosis they gave us and where he's at now, we're all very amazed with him.
Cross country is the ideal sport for him because cross country, my view is it's the hardest sport, and that's kind of what you would expect Noah to gravitate to. He doesn't take the easy way out in anything.
Come on, Noah, come on, keep going. He's done so many other fundraisers, but it was probably last, winter time where he said he would like to do something as far as a walk or run to help children with cancer.
I came up with a name, which is Never Say No 5K. And that's because the Rod McElroy Foundation's motto is never say no to a child in need. The Rod McElroy Foundation is a children's cancer death foundation that was started when Rod McElroy passed away. He was diagnosed with stage 4 bone cancer.
We were really saying if we could get 75 runners, that's going to be great for our first time. 100 runners would be wonderful. So when we're able to break that 100 mark and get to 132, and of course next year his goal is to double that.
For the 5K, we raised just over $2,000, which was just unbelievable. It was really nice to watch all those people out there.
The money goes to families who are in desperate need of just getting by, paying for their bills at home that they can't manage to pay right now because they're helping their child. But it's also to get the word out on childhood cancer.
As a kid, you see everyone that helped you. Like you hear about all the people that raised money for you when you were going through stuff and were there to help you. So now it's like, what can I do to give back to everyone?
I think of Noah as somebody who's probably on the pace to try to do more in 20 years of life than most people get done in 80 years of life.
It was a big day for a little giraffe at a zoo in Denmark. First, she was born. That's always pretty dramatic. And then shortly afterward, she decided she wanted to get up and have a look around. It's common for newborn giraffes to attempt their first steps shortly after their entrance into the world. And you can see why we use the term attempt. Didn't go too well at first, but eventually the little giraffe gets her legs under her and keeps them there. Of course, it's easy to love giraffes because they're so giraffable. They're stand-up animals who aren't afraid to stick their necks out for you. They make great subjects for tall tales, and they always heighten people's interest because they're so easy to spot. I'm Cral Azuz for CNN 10.